Hey, you guys, how's it going? This is Ashley Campbell with Daily Encouragement. So, I wanted to take some time to share some information with you guys about Project 2025. This has been something that's been pretty hot all over social media, and I wanted to share with you guys the stuff I've been learning about it in case you also have heard about it, but you know nothing. So, I'm going to read, I went to their actual website, okay, and I'm going to share that in the comments really fast. It's project2025.org. Okay, so I'm going to copy that. I'm going to paste it and put it in the comments so you guys can start doing your own research on the stuff. I'm going to go ahead and read a couple things to you guys that are on this, and then we're going to watch about a 16-minute interview that Glenn Beck had did with the president of the Heritage Foundation so he can clear up some of the stuff that's out there. So let's go ahead. I'm going to read this to you guys really quick. All right, let's jump in. It says, this is on page 34 of the 922-page mandate for leadership. This is part of this Project 2025, but this is going to give you an idea of where it came from and what inspired it. So, A Promise to America, Kevin D. Roberts, he is the president of the Heritage Foundation, the one who is really, started this whole Project 2025. It says, 40 years ago, the United States and the conservative movement were in dire straits. Both had been betrayed by the Washington establishment and were uncertain with whom to trust. Both were internally splintered and strategically adrift. Worse still, at the moment of acute vulnerability and division, we found ourselves besieged by existential adversaries, foreign and domestic. The late 1970s were by any measure a historic low point for America and the political coalition dedicated to preserving its unique legacy of human flourishing and freedom. Today, America and the conservative movement are enduring an era of division and danger akin to the late 1970s. Now, as then, our political class has been discredited by wholesale dishonesty and corruption. Look at America under the ruling and cultural elite today. Inflation is ravaging family budgets. Drug overdose deaths continue to escalate, and children suffer the toxic normalization of transgenderism with drag queens and pornography invading their school libraries. Overseas, a totalitarian, I don't know how to say the word, you guys, communist dictatorship in Beijing is engaged in strategic, cultural, and economic Cold War against America's interests, values, and people, all while globalist elites in Washington awaken only slowly to that growing threat. Moreover, low-income communities are drowning in addiction and government dependence. Contemporary elites have even repurposed the worst ingredients of 1970s radical chic to build the totalitarian cult known today as the Great Awakening. And now, as then, the Republican Party seems to have little understanding about what to do. Most alarming of all, the very moral foundations of our society are in peril. Yet students of history will note that, notwithstanding all those challenges, the late 1970s proved to be the moment when the political right unified itself and the country was led, united itself and the country and led the United States to historic political, economic, and global victories. The Heritage Foundation is proud to have played a small but pivotal role in that story. It was in early 1979, amid stagflation, gas lines, and the Red Army's invasion of Afghanistan, the NADIR, Jimmy Carter's days of malaise, that Heritage launched the Mandate for Leadership Project. We brought together hundreds of conservative scholars and academics across the conservative movement. Together, this team created a 20-volume, 3,000-page governing handbook containing more than 2,000 conservative policies to reform the federal government and rescue the American people from Washington dysfunction. It was a promise from the conservative movement to the country, confident, specific, and clear. Mandate for Leadership was published in January 1981, the same month Ronald Reagan was sworn into his presidency. By the end of that year, more than 60% of its recommendations had become policy, and Reagan was on his way to ending stagflation, reviving American confidence and prosperity, and winning the Cold War. The bad news today is that our political establishment and cultural elite have once again driven America toward decline. The good news is that we know the way out, even though the challenges today are not what they were in the 1970s. Conservatives should be confident that we can rescue our kids, reclaim our culture, revive our economy, and defeat the anti-American left, at home and abroad. We did it before and we will do it again. As Reagan put it, freedom is a fragile thing and it's never more than one generation away from extinction. It is not ours by way of inheritance. It must be fought for and defended constantly by each generation. This is the duty history has put before us and the standard by which our generation of conservatives will be judged, and we should not want it any other way. The legacy of Mandate for Leadership, and indeed of the entire Reagan revolution, is that if conservatives want to save the country, we need a bold and courageous plan. This book is the first step in that plan. The Conservative Promise. This volume, The Conservative Promise, is the opening salvo of the 2025 Presidential Transition Project, launched by the Heritage Foundation and our many partners in April 2022. Its 30 chapters lay out hundreds of clear and concrete policy recommendations for White House officials, cabinet departments, Congress, and agencies, commissions, and boards. Just as important as the scope of the Conservative Promise's recommendations is the breadth of its authorship. This book is the product of more than 400 scholars and policy experts from across the conservative movement and around the country. Contributors include former elected officials, world-renowned economists, and veterans from 4 presidential administrations. This is an agenda prepared by and for conservatives who will be ready on day one of the next administration to save our country from the brink of disaster. The Heritage Foundation is once again facilitating this work. But as our dozens of partners and hundreds of authors will attest, this book is the work of the entire conservative movement. As such, the authors express consensus recommendations already forged, especially among the 4 broad fronts that will decide America's future. Restore the family as the centerpiece of American life and protect our children. Dismantle the administrative state and return self-governance to the American people. Duh. Defend our nation's sovereignty, borders, and bounty against global threats. Secure our God-given individual rights to live freely, what our Constitution calls the blessings of liberty. What makes these 4 pieces of the Conservative Promise so valuable to the next president is that they cut through the superficial distractions and focus on the moral and foundational challenges America faces in this moment of history. This was one of the secrets of conservative success in the Reagan era, one our generation should emulate. As in the late 1970s, Americans today experience the failure of political and cultural elites in countless ways, in the job market and in the grocery store checkout lines, on the streets and in our schools, in the media and within our institutions. But in truth, these daily dysfunctions are not innumerable problems, but innumerable manifestations of a few core crises. In 1979, the threats we faced were the Soviet Union, the socialism of 1970s liberals, and the predatory I don't know how to say that word, deviancy of cultural elites. Reagan defeated these beasts by ignoring their tentacles and striking instead at their hearts. His approach to the Cold War, we win and they lose. His economic plan, the human dignity of work and its many rewards. His platform in the cultural wars, the community of values embodied in these words: family, work, neighborhood, peace, and freedom. This book and Project 2025 as a whole will arm the next conservative president with the same kind of strategic clarity, but for a new age. So, number 1, restore the family as the centerpiece of American life and protect our children. Okay, that's promise number 1. I'll skip down to 2. Dismantle the administrative state and return self-governance to the American people. Do we not have an issue with that right now? Because if you think about it, we're not making all the decisions. Who makes our decisions for us? It's these institutions that are all over that the legislative branch has allowed to happen, right? The Department of Education and all these, cabinet members working for the president that are making decisions for us when it really is supposed to be in the hands of the state. And that's part of this, is getting rid of those unnecessary institutions and putting the power back into the hands of the state and the people. As I've been studying in the Constitution, if it's not listed, they don't have power to do it. The founding fathers were very particular on what they were going to allow the government to do and not to do. And that's why Section 8, 9, and 10 is so important, because Article 1, Section 8 lists what Congress can do, Section 9 lists what they cannot do, and 10 what the states cannot do. They said it very plainly. And if we don't know the limits that they're supposed to have, we can't even see how far-fetched it's really become. We get frustrated because we're like, why is this happening? As they're saying, these administrative things that are in place, right? There's some of them that just got to go so you guys can get your freedom back and make your own decisions, right? Look what's happening with our country. They're not even allowing us to drill our own oil because they keep saying green energy and they keep telling you it's bad for the environment. Well, it's all for an agenda, you guys, right? So now all of a sudden they're making all the decisions for all the businesses instead of you guys making decisions for your business. Anyway, so Promise 3. Let's move down here, you guys. So let's look back at this when it talks about so what are they wanting to do here? It says Congress passes intentionally vague laws that delegate decision making over a given issue to a federal agency. That agency's bureaucrats, not just unelected but seemingly unfireable, then leap at the chance to fill the vacuum created by Congress's preening cowardice. The federal government is growing larger and less constitutionally accountable, even to the president every year. Come on, you guys. If you're paying attention, you know this stuff is true. All right, so let's move down here. So it says a combination of elected and unelected bureaucrats at the Environmental Protection Agency quietly strangles domestic energy production through difficult to understand rulemaking processes. I just told you guys that. All right, bureaucrats at the Department of Homeland Security, following the lead of a reckless administration, order border and immigration enforcement agencies to help migrants criminally enter our country with impunity. Bureaucrats at the Department of Education inject racist, anti-American, ahistorical propaganda into America's classrooms. You guys, tell me you don't see this, right? Bureaucrats at the Department of Justice force school districts to undermine girls' sports and parents' rights to satisfy transgender extremists. Woke bureaucrats at the Pentagon force troops to attend training seminars about white privilege. And bureaucrats at the State Department infuse U.S. foreign aid programs with woke extremism about intersectionality and abortion. So you guys can't tell me that this stuff is not true, right? And so it's crazy because people that, are on the left, I hate to say that, but they're so pissed about this Project 2025. Tell me what the problem with some of the things they have listed is, right? I mean, I don't care what side you're on, can we not just both look at this and be objective? Because, it's just insane how divided the nation is. But can you not see this? Right? So then it goes down. I'm not going to read all this to you guys because it is 922 pages. All right. And what was it saying? I skipped number 3 up here. I must have. Defend our nation's sovereignty, borders, and bounty against global threats. Right? How many nations actually take advantage of us? They all do. How many of you normal Americans actually understand the policies and the treaties we have with most of these nations? You don't know anything, right? Because it's the president's job, it's the executive branch's job to make treaties with foreign nations. If you haven't read the treaty, how can you sit here and say that these nations are being fair and actually doing their part, right? Donald Trump talks about it all the time, that America is constantly putting out money and we're getting screwed by these other nations, right? So, at least he's even telling us these things. I'm just saying, if you as an American have not even taken the time to figure out what these are, how do you really know what's going on, right? I haven't really heard Joe Biden talk to us about what's in these policies and what's going on, right? He just tells us that we're giving more money to another nation, basically. All right, and number 4 says, really quick, you guys, and I'll show you guys the video. Secure our God-given individual right to enjoy the blessings of liberty. So those are the 4 pillars. Is there anything wrong with those pillars you guys have seen? All they're saying is that there's going to be, strategic plans to show the president what he can do to actually deal with some of these problems, right? And thank God for people who actually know this information. How many of you Americans out there actually know some of the stuff he's talking about? How many of you know your Constitution? How many of you know the function of it? Most don't. So we're sitting here getting pissed off about things and we're completely ignorant as to what's going on. And so we got to start taking the time to actually reading this kind of stuff and doing research and thinking for ourselves and stop letting everybody tell us what something is, right? So really quick, you guys, I'm going to show you a video that Glenn Beck had done with the president of the, let me go ahead and remove this really quick, but of the Heritage Foundation, the guy who's behind the project of Project 2025. And like I said, it's important that we actually, let me remove this from the stage. All right, start talking about these things because you guys, America is not doing well. But if we start educating ourselves, we actually can. You know, people always say there's somebody on here right now, Noelle. She's like, oh, vote blue or whoever you are. Okay, so I just want to know why. And I don't even know if you live in the United States, right? It's funny how many foreigners support a party that's absolutely against everything that they would stand for if you actually knew what was happening in this country. What has the Democratic Party done for the United States since Joe Biden has been in office? Can somebody please tell me the good that's happened? Seriously. I mean, we have to have this conversation because you can defend blue all you want, but it's not, is it just a color to you? Are you not paying attention to the policies and the decisions that they're making as a result? Are we going to continue to be ignorant? Yes, that's what's happening with a lot of people. They're saying vote, and they don't even know who these people are. They don't know who they're involved in. They don't know what they believe. They don't know anything about them. But just because it's a color, right? I mean, that's ridiculous. I thought even Martin Luther King says you should judge people by their character and not their color, right? That goes not just for people, that goes for your political, affiliations. Red, blue, I don't give a shit what color you are. Do you understand the policies of the color that you support, whether it's red or blue, right? Do you know the character of the people that you're going to put into these positions? Are you doing your homework? This is what this is about, you guys. So let's go ahead and watch this video really fast. And Glenn Beck did an interview with the president of the Heritage Foundation, who has been, facilitating Project 2025. So you guys, let's go ahead and check this out.
One of, I believe, the real true patriots in America is Kevin Roberts. He's the Heritage Foundation president. We have gotten to know each other quite well over the last year or so, and I have tremendous respect for him, his courage, and what he is also doing at the Heritage Foundation. I had a family reunion this last weekend, and we had about 35 people here, and not everybody votes the same way that I do. In fact, some of my family, kind of rolls their eyes at some of the things I say, and that's fine. And we're still family, and we love each other. And we had a great conversation about what was going on, especially after the assassination attempt. And what came up over and over again was Project 2025. They're making it into a fascistic state. They're going to give the presidency so much more power. And I laughed and I said, that's not Project 2025. In fact, that's the opposite of what they're trying to do. This is something the Heritage Foundation has done every election year for many years, but never to this degree. And Kevin Roberts is here to tell us about it. Hello, Kevin. How are you?
Glenn, my friend, great patriot. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you. So, Kevin, talk to people who are hearing from the media that this is nothing but a way to carve out special exemptions for the president for fascism.
The best way to start, and we'll go into detail, I know, is to say it is total projection by the left. I mean, you, perhaps more than anyone in our modern age, has shown us how whatever the left is accusing our side of is actually something they themselves are guilty of. And so Project 2025 is actually a corrective to the very thing the left is accusing us of doing. That is, they are the ones, particularly since LBJ's presidency in the 60s, who have accrued all of this power in the hands of unelected bureaucrats in D.C. We feel that in every respect, every industry, every business, and even in most of us in our sort of everyday lives. But ultimately, what Project 2025 will do is address the problem of the administrative state in D.C. being weaponized against the everyday American. It's the biggest threat, as you know, the administrative state, Glenn, to a republic where citizens vote for a new president and a new direction, and yet nothing changes. In fact, what we will see if any aspects of Project 2025 are implemented is a diminishing of the scope of Washington, D.C., and an increase in freedoms, and the presidency and the legislative branch and the judicial branch all being returned to proper order. In other words, it really is, I think, the single best set of policy ideas about how we go back to the original founding vision as our founders had it of this constitutional republic.
Eden Pure is back with their famous Thunderstorm air purifier. It's their top seller air purifier that quickly destroys plugged in. Seek out and destroy. Nothing can hide. Pure Thunderstorm. Go to Eden Pure D. Relatives, look, wherever you need the air to be clean, go to EdenPureDeals.com. EdenPureDeals.com. Use the promo code Beck and save. You know, I said to some of my relatives, look, you and I agree on one thing, I think, and they did, and that is no citizen should ever be afraid that the president of the United States is going to get them, that this election would put somebody in office where he could take away freedoms of people he didn't like or didn't agree with. I am absolutely against that, because I know it always comes around to bite whoever did it in the butt, because they'll eventually get to you. And that's not our system. This ensures that the president, no matter which side they're on, doesn't have that power to get his enemies or to just rule his way without the consent of Congress and the people.
That's right. And if that kind of abuse and weaponization against the American people using the administrative state we've seen against the right, the political right by President Biden, were for some reason to be done by a conservative administration, we at Project 2025 and at Heritage, to your point, Glenn, would be just as apoplectic. Every one of us, from the far left to the far right, wherever someone is on that political spectrum, needs to wake up in this country and believe that of all entities, the federal government is going to be objective and neutral and fair and just and equal in how it treats all of our citizens. And so the real problem that we're trying to address isn't just the accrual of power since the 60s in particular. It is, without getting engaged in hyperbole, which you know I detest, addressing the weaponization of the federal government against individual citizens. I'll give you a quick story that is a personal reference, but it's emblematic of what people feel. I, as you know, am a traditional Roman Catholic. Doesn't mean that people have to agree with that, but that's my religious liberty and my family's to practice that. We have, over the last few years, those of us in that category, not just been fearful of, but we know the following has happened. We know this from the director of the FBI and the attorney general of Biden's administration. They have targeted faithful traditional Catholics because we like the Latin Mass as somehow being domestic terrorists. It's that kind of nonsense that Project 2025 would bring to an end if the next administration so desires to implement it.
So has Trump signed on for any of this?
Look, it's informal. The president, of course, has distanced himself from this, which is, I think, a smart political move, given how successful the left's mischaracterization of this has been. Ultimately, though, to your question, great ideas and great people rise to the top. And so without it all being presumptuous, which you know I am not, and Project 2025 is designed to sort of be in the background, those great ideas and those great people, I think, are going to be part of this conversation once the Trump-Vance administration takes office. So I would, for people trying to make sense of President Trump's comments and his campaign's comments in the project, understand that we are in the political season right now, and soon we will move into the transition and policy-making season. And I just have great confidence in the policies and people who are part of it, and think that we're going to have a great era of good, common sense policy reform that ultimately is sort of neither conservative nor liberal. It's just right, and it's just common sense.
I will tell you that I read the website, and we're doing a show on it tomorrow night to go through what it is and what it's not. And if people will read it, I mean, I think the media is doing a great service in a way. If people go to the website and really look up what Project 2025 is and reads it, I think most Americans will agree with a lot of it. You're talking about dismantling the not the DOJ, but the DHS. You're returning the component parts to other agencies. You're talking about eliminating harmful regulations that have stifled innovation in small businesses, more oil and gas leases, less climate extremism, no more overregulation of dishwashers and gas stoves and everything else that they said they definitely weren't doing. I think, Kevin, the idea here is the administrative state has been made into something that can do all the things that they know they can't get passed into laws. And that's what's got to stop. These people, these elites are running these organizations, and they decide what's best, and it never comes to us. And if we want to change, then we'll change. You can't force us to do that, especially as a unelected official.
That's the key issue, is that Congress, of course, is complicit in this by not being forceful enough over the last decades. And what it's done, frankly, under both Democrat and Republican administrations, is create this yo-yo effect of the Democrats and the Republicans issuing these executive orders. I'm still hopeful enough about this country, Glenn, to believe that maybe a vast majority of us across the political spectrum understand that's not how we ought to make law. And so what we're trying to do with the proposals we have in Project 2025, in addition to what you said, is call for an end to DEI and CRT. I mean, this is something that's vastly supported. Unfortunately, we probably see, in addition to all of the aspects of the failure on Saturday's near assassination, the effects of that was a higher goal, DEI for the Secret Service director, than real competence. This is the point. Americans understand what is going on, which is that a small group of people have concentrated power. They're not elected. They might be good people. We don't have to get into the personal side of this, but they are people who do not want those of us who are regular, normal people to go about our lives. It's imperative that people understand that the very reason the left has spent more money demonizing Project 2025 than we've spent putting it together tells you it is a threat to their power. And that ought to excite us about the possibilities ahead.
You talk about in Project 2025 something that I haven't heard for a long time, and that's a flatter and fairer tax code with a 15% bracket and a 30% bracket. They, of course, will say this is tax cuts for the rich, etc. But it is shown math does not lie. It has been shown over and over and over again, no matter what you do with the tax code, the government brings in about 18% total. And if you bring the tax code and bring it up to 95, people find loopholes, don't pay their taxes, et cetera, and they still get about 17 to 18% going into the Treasury. So why not do a flat tax where everybody pays, what's appropriate, and you don't have all of these loopholes? That would be fantastic. Chance that happens?
I think there's a chance. And in fact, in some recent interview in the last couple of weeks, President Trump has even hinted at that. Obviously, we're going to have to deal as a country with tax policy because the Trump tax cuts are up for renewal. And I think there's an opportunity, depending on what the president and the vice president, of course, want to do, we will be of service to that, is to insert into that a flatter system. I mean, I'm old enough to remember when, as a country, 10 or so years ago, we were on the cusp of implementing that kind of thing. This is an excellent example of something that is in Project 2025 that is wildly supported by a majority of people. And it leads me to the following connected point, Glenn. You touched on this just a minute ago. Project 2025 covers literally every policy issue known to man. It is a menu of policy options. I've not met one fellow conservative, whether that's my wife or one of my siblings or my dad, all staunch conservatives who agree with 100% of what's in there. The point is not to seek unanimity. The point is to provide a menu of options that represent the popular will, that if President Trump and Vice President Vance so choose, there's actually a substantive plan behind that political impulse. And that actually, I would like to think, for people who are more objective in the political center or the political left, give people a little bit of comfort that actually what we're trying to do here is have a governing agenda following the lead of the men who will be making the decisions. And I think as time goes on, to sum up here, the more we understand that's actually what this project is about, the more we're not only telling the truth, but we're actually kneecapping what has been a last-ditch desperation attempt by the left, which can't run on the record.
Can you do me a favor? I've got about 60 seconds. I just want to run through some true and false, because these are the things that are being said about it. I just want to know if this is true or false. Sure. In Project 2025, there is a call to end no-fault divorce. True or false?
False.
Complete ban on abortions without exceptions. True or false?
Extraordinarily false.
Ban contraceptives. True or false?
False.
Higher taxes for the working class.
False. We want the exact opposite.
Additional tax breaks for corporations and the 1%.
False.
Elimination of unions and worker protections. My gosh, look at what they're saying.
I know. So false.
Cut Social Security.
False.
Raise the retirement age.
False.
End the Affordable Care Act.
False.
Raise prescription drug prices.
False.
Eliminate the Department of Education.
True, my friend. That's the one thing they get right.
Love that. Use public taxpayer money for private religious schools. True or false?
False.
Teach Christian religious beliefs in public schools.
False. We understand it's a pluralistic country. We love those schools, but that's up to people to decide.
End civil rights and DEI protections in government.
Well, we definitely want to end DEI nonsense, but obviously the great thing about Project 2025 is that we're restoring civil rights, if anything.
Ban books and curriculum about slavery.
False.
Ending climate protections.
Well, the ones that aren't based on science will come to an end, but we certainly understand the value of science in protecting the environment.
I got to tell you, this is why we're doing a whole show on it. What they're saying about this is incredible. What it is, it's not. You can find it at heritage.org, or you can go to Project 2025. I believe that's project2025.org.
All right, and I just shared with you guys the policies. If you go to their website, project2025.org/policy, if you go to their site, it says on there that you can read the mandate. Okay, it's 900 and something pages. It's a lot, but you guys are gonna be able to investigate all of that stuff yourself. All right. I just read to you guys the first couple pages with one of the promises. It's talking about defend our nation's sovereignty, borders, and bounty against global threats. And I'm just gonna go down a little bit, and it says, America's corporate and political elites do not believe in the ideals to which our nation is dedicated: self-governance, the rule of law, and ordered liberty. They certainly do not trust the American people, and they disdain the Constitution's restrictions on their ambitions. Instead, they believe in a kind of 24th century Wilsonian order in which the enlightened, highly educated, how do you say that word, you guys? Elites run things rather than the humble, patriotic working families who make up the majority of what the elites contemptuously call flyover country. The Wilsonian hubris has spread like a cancer through many of America's largest corporations, its public institutions, and its popular culture. Those who run our so-called American corporations have bent to the will of the woke agenda and care more for their foreign investors and organizations than their American workers and customers. You guys tell me you can't see that? Today, nearly every top-tier U.S. university president or Wall Street hedge fund manager has more in common with a socialist European head of state than with the parents at a high school football game in Waco, Texas. Many elites' entire identity, it seems, is wrapped up in their sense of superiority over those people. But under our Constitution, they are the mere equals of the workers who shower after work instead of before. So, you guys, you got to look this up yourself. All right. So that's why I wanted to show this to you guys and show you that video. This is going to, from what I believe, it's going to go through the different policies. All right. It's a lot, but somebody out there is going to read it because it's important, right? Let me see here. There's so much on here. What was this talking about? This section right here. This is page 527. Office of Global Affairs. The director of the Office of Global Affairs should have the title of Assistant Secretary, so he or she can adequately represent HHS and security. So here's the thing about this. You actually, as an American citizen, have the opportunity to look at these policies yourself. Isn't that incredible? Right? You should. You should look at this stuff. You should take the time to learn it because there's a lot of gibberish on the internet right now of people talking about it, but I bet you they not have one time went to the website and actually looked at the actual book. All right. So you guys, let's not just say crap and be ignorant. Let's use the resources that we have. So I want to share that with you guys. I'll continue to look it over myself, and if I find anything in it that I think is interesting, I will definitely share it with you guys. But anyway, I'm going to get off here. I think it's been long enough. You guys make sure you go over to project2025.org, click on the link I gave you guys regarding the book, and start looking at the policies yourself. All right. If you can't see that we do have an administrative state, meaning that all these administrators and all these different policies, someone else is making decisions for you instead of you and your local reps, you need to wake up. Look what just happened just recently. How come Joe Biden didn't address the nation saying that he was going to step down? Don't you anybody think that's a little fishy? Where is he? He needs to get on there and talk to you. If he's competent, he's the commander-in-chief, and he's like, look, I'm out. He should be up there talking to everybody. And now they're going to put people on the ballot that people on the other side, it's like, do you even know who these people are? They're just going to force them on there. Did you guys even vote to decide who you wanted to be on the ballot for the left, right? I mean, this is stuff you guys got to start questioning. Do you see how quick they were to just kind of throw him off to the side and put somebody else in there? You're not concerned about that? And if they're doing that to them, they're going to do it to everybody. They're going to do it to anybody and everybody who gets in the way of their agenda. And if you can't see that, you need to wake up. It's evident. How is it that everybody was okay with that too? You literally are not having a say in this election at this point. Not when they just throw people out there and say, oh, people like, oh, we're going to vote for, so-and-so. We're going to vote for Kamala Harris. Okay, why? Can somebody give me an intelligent answer except that she's a woman? And, okay, people say she's black, but I heard she's not, right? She's like Indian or something like that. The point is when are you actually going to start do what Martin Luther King told us to do and judge a person off their character, not the color of their skin or their gender? So you're just picking her because she's a woman? That's it? No, you haven't looked into anything else. Who she's involved with, the policies that she's done. Everyone says, well, she was attorney general. She's smart. Okay, what did she do when she was an attorney general? Right? She was like, what was she about? Do you know anything about her? Have you taken the time? Who is she affiliated with? What has she done? What's her track record? What has she voted for? And that's the other thing. You guys need to go back and pay attention to what was going on in the country when Biden was elected, okay, in 2020. You guys remember when he got in office, right? It was like when he first got in there, January of 2021, and he was signing all these executive orders. You guys don't think that's tyranny? He didn't go through Congress at all. 20 executive orders. Oh, and let's not forget, you guys on the left, right? You were okay with someone mandating you to get vaccinated? You thought that was okay. You think the government has authority to tell you that if you don't get vaccinated, you're going to lose your job. You're okay with that. What is wrong with you? You live in the United States. You're supposed to be in this country making decisions for yourself, not having these people above you telling you what you're going to do and not do unless you can't think for yourself. Are you not competent? Are you not an adult? Do you not have the ability to make decisions for yourself? Come on, guys. You got to start paying attention. You got to start looking at the results of what's really going on here. Okay? This side that everybody's supporting, vote blue. What have they really done for you? Look at their track record, right? Throwing executive orders out there, throwing people on the ballot. You don't even know who these people are. Did you guys even vote? Are you guys involved in your right now? We've got the primaries going on, getting people on the ballot. Did you guys get to do that? No, you guys thought you were voting for Joe Biden. No, guess what? You don't get to because he stepped down. He didn't even address you. He didn't tell you actually what's going on. Nobody knows what's going on. You want to know why? Because everybody in his party has been trying to get him to step down, putting pressure on him to go. That's a little fishy. I thought you guys wanted him in office, right? How come you guys aren't making that decision? Why is everybody else out there making that decision for him? Why? Because they knew they could manipulate him. Because look at his mental decline. Do you really think he's been the one on social media typing out his own posts? Do you really think he has the mental cognition to sit there and write all that out? I don't think so. Do you really think he was on that keyboard on Instagram making that announcement on Sunday that he was stepping down? Do you really think it was him? Really? He can't even talk straight, right? Writing is taking your thoughts, putting them on paper. Do you really think that's what was going on? Supposedly he had COVID. What's going on with him? Is he okay? Anybody telling us? If it was Trump, they'd have it all over the news. What about Biden? Where's he at? You guys, wake up. Pay attention. Are they really for you? I don't know. You guys are all worried about the people on the left, worried about not being able to have an abortion. This policies has nothing to do with that. They're saying put power back in the states. That's all it's doing. It's saying the federal government is not supposed to be mandating for all 50 states. That's the problem that we're having. Is we've got a federal government, we've got an executive branch that has grown so large. They're dictating every decision in your life right now, and you're so used to it. You think it's normal and it's okay. It's not normal. It's not the way this Constitution was designed. This Constitution was designed with limits on that because the Founding Fathers knew if man is not subject to God, they're at the mercy of their own desires and whatever the hell they want to do. They don't give a crap. You know how people can be selfish? It says the laws of nature and nature's God. You guys know what that means? What's the laws of nature? Well, self-defense is one of them, right? You guys ever seen animals defend themselves? Okay, laws of nature. What are some other ones? Here's some examples they used yesterday, right? Animals commit adultery, right? They sleep around. All these other things that happen. But then laws of nature to nature's God. God has given us human beings structure because we are not animals. Are you guys animals? Seriously? Like, I don't understand why people get pissed about having any type of structure in their life. Right? It's like we were not created to be an animal. We're supposed to be on top of the food chain here. How the hell are you going to do that if you've got no structure whatsoever in your life? If everything goes and everything's fine and we're just going to be like animals and do whatever the hell we want. No accountability. Who cares how my actions, affect somebody else? Somebody who's moral is not going to infringe upon the rights of somebody else. Somebody who's moral is not going to go steal from their neighbor. Somebody who's moral is not going to go have sex with their neighbor's wife, or she's going to go, sleep around and just be a hoe, or so, vice versa, right? Because you're like, that's not right. Who told us that? God did, because he created us. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with us having that type of structure. Because if we don't think that God exists and he hasn't given us any structure, this is exactly why we have these bureaucrats and these administrative state and these people making decisions for us. Because as it showed inside this book, this policy that Project 2025 is talking about, is they think you, the average American's too stupid to begin with. Why do you think they push college all the time? So they can tell you how to think and what they want, to put you in positions to work for them. But majority of us, they think we're all dumbasses anyway. They don't think you can think and do. So they have to do it for you. Treated like a bunch of children. But everybody was like, I live in a free country. Yeah, you do, but they think you're an idiot. So that's why they tell you what to do. Because they don't think you have the ability to think for yourself. And you don't have the ability to control yourself. So they control you. And you go ahead and just go along with it and say, this is normal. This is what it's like to live in America. No, it's not. This is not how our country was designed. Our country was designed for moral people and self-governance. That's exactly why we came over here. Because they had enough, right? Are you going to have enough? Are you going to start doing your own research? Are you going to stop letting the media manipulate you? with all the crap they're saying. Have you ever noticed that when you watch the news these days, they don't actually tell you what a person said? Right? Like this, Glenn Beck literally interviewed the guy who's behind it, talking to the source. No, these guys just sit here and talk about people and what they think. They're not actually telling you what was in that. How many of you went to the actual Project 2025 website, looked at the actual book that's going to be presented to the president or anybody else that's going to be there, 925-page book with all the policies they're talking about? How many of you actually looked at it? Seriously, if you haven't, keep your mouth shut because you don't know what you're talking about. You're just puppeting. You're doing their work. If you don't like the state that the country's in right now, ask yourself, who the hell have you been listening to? You've been listening to these media companies and all the garbage they put out there? How do you even know it's true? How do you know something is true? You guys know how you know how you figure it out? You ask questions. How many of you are actually asking questions? That's how you figure out if something's true. That's a critical thinker. Okay? So you guys, do your own research. Go to the source. Look at it yourself. Oh my gosh, it's so much. So what? Look at it a little bit at a time. Share it with your friends. Start talking about this stuff. Start talking about meaningful things that are going to affect your nation. All right? And just stop doing their bidding because they don't care for you. Do you really think, you guys on the left over here that are like sitting over here clapping for Kamala and Biden, are you not paying attention to what's going on? You really think they got your back? No, they don't. They're using you to do their dirty work so they can continue to rule over you, and you guys are just going to continue to be slaves. And then you're going to complain because you guys are the same group of people that talk about how screwed over you're getting, not making enough money, right? You're not making enough. You're not making it this or that. I wonder why. Have you ever thought about the policies that are put in place from the people up here and how they do things? All right. The loopholes that they were talking about. Again, if people are not underneath God, they're going to abuse the system, right? They're going to take the loopholes. And everybody was getting on Trump for that. Oh yeah, he didn't have to pay this or that. He's like, look, this is the tax code that's set up. He's using the system against him. The system we have now, it doesn't educate you to your tax system. Do you know what your tax system is? Do you understand how it works? Most Americans don't. And you're sitting here bitching about somebody and you don't even know what it is. It's total ignorance. Why is he successful? Because he's educated. He knows the system. He's done his work, just like every other American can be too, right? But it's like, you don't know the tax system. Most people don't even do their own taxes, right? They don't understand how it works. They don't understand the tax brackets. They don't understand deductions. Did you guys know? Remember how when President Trump doubled the what was it? Not the child tax credit, but the married one, right? It was like at $12,000. He brought it up to $24,000. Do you know how beneficial that is to you as an American citizen, right? To knock off $24,000 off. What are you guys going to do when they expire all those tax cuts and all the things he's done? You guys think you got screwed last year? Oh man, we're paying so much. Oh, you just wait until they get rid of those, right? I think you guys that's the other thing people say is they're like, well, all his tax cuts made the deficit go up. No. This is what happened. When he cut the taxes, the people over here who rely on taxes to get their paychecks freak out because there is no guarantee that they're going to have a check because they think that you guys are lazy pieces of shit and you're not going to go to work and start businesses. So if they have a guaranteed tax, they're always going to have their money high on the hog and you guys are always going to be broke because they're taxing the shit out of you. So guess what? When Trump came in and cut the taxes, they freaked out because they're like, wait a minute, what are we going to do? Now we're in a deficit. Why did they call it a deficit? Because they didn't know how they were going to get their paycheck guaranteed. But guess what? This is what's ideally supposed to happen. If you believe in the people, right? If you think, you know what, Americans are smart, they're hardworking, they want to start businesses, they want to do the right thing, right? You can help people rise to the occasion to how you look at another human being. Trump doesn't think that Americans are a bunch of lazy pieces of shit like most of these administrations do, right? These people that are running this show. They think you're a bunch of idiots. That's why they have to make decisions for you. But when you give businesses tax credits, think about it. What company do you work for right now? How many of you are self-employed? Seriously. Are you self-employed? Most Americans, some Americans are. Maybe you got a couple, maybe it's just you, right? Maybe you've got a couple hundred employees, whatever. But the point is, anybody who has a business is not stupid. They understand that if I have more money in my pocket, I can hire more people, make more product, expand. That's the whole point of the tax cuts for businesses. Because when they have money in their pocket, they can hire more people, right? Now, the beauty of it is it should be happening over here in the United States, right? Should we not have policies in the United States that allow businesses to flourish here, right? Think about it. You know, like a lot of our, what do you call it? You guys, my brain is disappearing with it. But like industrial type jobs and stuff like that, that's all gone. Why? Because of the shit policies of these administrators making everything really hard. Like if somebody wants to, you know, maybe, like making cars or buildings or, type of innovation, stuff like that, right? Industrial type stuff. Where do they send that? A lot of it's overseas. Why? Because it's cheaper over there. Why? Because of the policies over here. Where did those come from? From the people up here, making it difficult. You guys, we're sitting on tons of oil in this country. Why won't we drill our own oil, right? Get our own source. No, because of all the BS policies they have with these different departments. And this is why Project 2025 is unique, because they're like, look, this government has gotten so big, it was never created to do the things that it's doing. And if you guys understand the Constitution, if you've read it, if you've studied it, you would understand they are way over their limits. They've abused it because of the ignorance of the American people. So they've created all these extra Department of Education, Department of this or that. And they say, you know what? We're the professionals. We know how to run shit. This is how you do it. Bullshit. Look what it's doing. We're getting our oil from a completely different country. I think like South America or something, instead of getting it from here. Why? Because whoever's running the show, for whatever motives they have, we don't know. They're not being honest, right? People who want to deceive you are not going to tell you the truth. They're going to manipulate you because of your ignorance. This is why it's important to know reality like this. Okay, wait a minute. If we need oil and we want the price to go down, we'll just use what we have. But then they fearmonger and they say, man, we're going to burn up everything we got. Okay, so now we're going to burn up everybody else's shit. Okay, okay, people who always say, man, we need to care for other countries. So what? You think we should continue to use up all their shit? Oh, no, their shit doesn't disappear, right? It doesn't go away. So, Saudi Arabia and all these other nations that have oil, their shit's just free flowing all the time. Theirs will never burn up, but, we have to save ours. Bullshit. Use your stuff. Use what you have. That's how you save money, right? Why would you go buy something if you already had it in your own backyard? Does that make sense? You wouldn't. It would be stupid. You're like, why am I going to do that? So this is common sense stuff. Well, it's not really common anymore, right? Because most people don't think about this stuff. They don't know this. They don't teach this stuff in public schools. They don't teach how businesses run in public schools. They don't teach how the tax system works in public schools. They don't teach any of that crap. I don't even know we know what they're teaching, right? Confusion. A girl can be a boy and a boy can be a girl and you can piss in a cat box and, everything's fine. They're not teaching anything that's actually going to help you and preserve this nation because that's not their goal. All right? They want everybody living in a cardboard box, eating fucking bugs, and you being their little slaves. And that will happen if Americans on both sides, I don't care who you are, left, right, conservative, freaking liberal, I don't give a shit what title you have. Throw the titles aside. Let's start looking at policy. Let's start looking at how are these people making decisions? What are they doing? Everybody who's voting for Biden and Kamala and whoever, who you don't even know who you're going to vote for. How do you know they're not going to take her out? Seriously. You guys are like, you know what? We're going to vote for her. She has like $100 million, man. She's going to win. Really? You think so? You really think she's going to win? They will remove her if they don't think she'll win. You don't think so? Where'd Biden go? He was last I heard, he was pretty gung-ho about staying in the game, and his wife, she wasn't going to let him go anywhere. I was kind of hoping it would happen, right? So, anyway, you guys, these are the things we start asking ourselves. These are the questions we got to start working through. These are the conversations that have to be had. We have to start getting our knowledge on the same page as these people who are running the country. Did you know that that's what it was like back in the day? Like Common Sense? Thomas Paine wrote that. Federalist Papers. Why did they write it the way they did? So everybody could be on the same page. So the guy over here, the farmer guy, he was on the same page as the guy who was running in office. He knew the same things that they knew. This is where we need to go back to. You can no longer be stupid. Okay? They're going to continue to take advantage of you. You have to start. You know what? What kind of stuff do they read, right? What do they know? You need to know that. You need to stop being lazy because we've created a system where there's professionals and there's not professionals. And you think just because, I'm not a politician. I don't work in the government. No, you need to know so you can check them. The Constitution was made for all Americans to know it. So if the people they elected were overstepping their boundaries, we, the people, could put fire underneath their ass and say, you've overstepped your boundaries. You're not supposed to be over here. You went too far. You're out of bounds. How can you know they're out of bounds if you don't even know what it says? Why would you elect somebody into a position and you have no idea what their job is and what they're supposed to be doing? Really? Don't you know how dangerous that is? You guys, Article 1 of the Constitution is going to explain to you everything about Congress. That is the House of Representatives and the Senators. Do you want to know how it's supposed to run? Read Article 1 of the U.S. Constitution. Okay? So now you know everything about the Congress. Now, let's say you want to know about the president. What the hell is his job? What is he supposed to be doing? What's his role? Right? How does he have to be all the way to his duties and responsibilities? I want you to read Article 2, okay, of the Constitution. That's going to tell you that. Right? That you need to be on the same page. If you're going to put somebody in office as president, you need to know what his damn job is and what his limits are. If you're going to elect people into the House of Representatives or a senator on the federal level, okay, you better know what the hell their parameters are, what they can and cannot do. Why the hell would you put somebody in there and if you don't even know what their damn job is? What does that mean? They can do whatever the hell they want. They can walk all over you, all in the name of, I work for the government. All right. So we've got Congress taking care of Article 1, the president's role in Article 2. Article 3, you know what that's about? Article 3 has to do with the judicial system, the courts. Do you know anything about that? I don't. Not enough, right? But if you want to know it, it's there. Why do you need to know it? Because these are the people that are making decisions for you. Listen, our country is so divided right now on both sides, right? None of us really know what the hell's going on. Like, we're paying attention. We see some things, on my side, I'm like, what the hell is happening here? Right? Why are we allowing millions of people to come into our country? Why are we not securing the border? Why are the states kicking people out of schools, using up hotels for migrants? Why are they using state money to take care of them when you've got hardworking Americans busting their ass, not getting shit, right? We always say, oh yeah, take care of the veterans, take care of the homeless. We ain't taking care of them. We're taking care of all these other people in this country that they don't pay taxes. They're taking your taxes, right? All the taxes they collect in your state, especially if you live in a sanctuary city, you live in a sanctuary state, New York, California, Illinois, right? Some of the major states out there that, say, come. We will take care of you, right? Well, if you're on the left, aren't you a little pissed about that? I mean, what about your schools? You guys know, I talked to my senator the other day because my Walmart's turned it into a damn foreign nation. And I'm like, what the hell are you guys going to do about it? Well, they can't do anything until the election. And she goes, it's only going to get worse, Ashley. Did you know that there's a whole lot more coming for the border right now? I just read in the paper the other day. She goes, you got any kids in public school? Hell no. You know what she said? All right, well, the schools are going to be crammed with all kinds of kids. They don't speak English. They don't know shit about this country. And your kids are going to be going to school with them. You think that's fair? I don't. Right? What the hell's going on here? Why are we more concerned about people that don't live here than the own people that are here? A lot of people say it all the time. But sometimes your rhetoric on the other side, I'm talking to people that are left or blue, you care more about foreign people than you do about your own country. What about your neighbors? What about the vets? What about people that you work with day to day that actually are an American citizen? You don't think that they should be a priority? Oh, so should we just start moving Americans out of their houses now? Right? Why not? All right, left. You guys want all these people here, right? should we just, you can just go ahead and move out of your house and give up everything you got and just let them stay? Is that what we need to do as a country? No. The only way we're going to unify is all of us being on the same damn page to the same knowledge that these people have that we're putting in office. What's the function of Congress? What's the function of the president? What's the function of the judicial branch? Period. Start there. Read. What are these policies in Project 2025? How are they different? What policies are there right now? Do you guys know how much red tape there is? Again, all the administrators. Let's see how many cabinet positions there are right now. Do you guys know how many cabinet positions there are in the executive branch? Do you guys know what the cabinet is? So cabinet positions. Let me see if I can type this in really quick. All right. Whew. The cabinet includes the vice president and the heads of 15 executive departments. So we've got 15. 15. You know what that means? So let's look at the departments really fast. Secretaries of Agriculture, Commerce, Defense, Education, Energy, Health and Human Services, Homeland Security, Housing and Urban Development, Interior, Labor, State, Transportation, Treasury, Veterans Affairs. Those are all the cabinets. These are all the administrators. Each secretary of those different departments is the one who counsels the president. Did you guys know that? Okay. So you've got 15 departments. Each secretary of those departments is that one person who goes to the president and says, you know, Mr. President, this is what we should be doing. Now, guess what? Here's the problem with these departments. Energy, health, education, health and services. Do you know how much money these departments get to create policy in your state, even though that's not their responsibility? And if you read the Constitution, it talks about that, and we'll do another video on that sometime, you guys. But these are the people who are making all the decisions. We need to know who these people are. We need to know the policies that they support. You need to start asking some way tougher questions than just being so shallow and supporting somebody just because she's a woman and just because, you know what, maybe she's black, so we're going to vote for them. That's a little retarded. Martin Luther King said, pick people by their character, not the color of their skin. Are you guys really going back to that? Really? That's what you're doing. Every time you pick somebody based upon their gender or their race, you're not looking at their character. What is a person's character? It's their qualities. It's who they are as a person. It's their behavior, right? The things they do, the things they choose to do. Person's character is the qualities they possess. And then they act those qualities out through their actions, attitudes, and behaviors. Are you paying attention to the actions, attitudes, and behaviors of these people that you're like, you know what, we're going to vote them in? What's your criteria? Do you even know what it is? This is the crap you got to start doing, or you're going to drive the United States right over the damn cliff. Okay? Let's stop being ignorant. Let's educate ourselves. Let's study our constitutions. Read Article 1, 2, and 3. Oh, I don't know what it means. That's okay. I just sat on here in a live video reading the document to you guys, stumbling over tons of words. I'm like, I don't even know what that says. You know what? I don't care. I'm not ashamed of my ignorance. I can go back. You know what I do? I'll go back. I'll highlight a word. I'll put it in the dictionary, like on my phone, and I'll get the pronunciation guide out. And I'm like, oh, that's how you say the word. So what? Right? It doesn't matter. Don't be afraid of not knowing what something means. Just look it up. Highlight the word. You know, buy yourself a copy of the Constitution, the U.S. Constitution. Start reading it. And if you're like, dude, I don't know what that means. That's why you guys get overwhelmed, because you don't know what it means. Well, and there's even other resources out there too you guys can get that'll help you understand it better. It's like Constitution Made Easy or something like that. So we have no excuse. The point is, we always say we're in the information age. There's tons of classes we can take. There's tons of books we can read. There's tons of things we can do. The only thing we can't do is now have the knowledge and then do absolutely nothing and then sit around and bitch about what's happening, which side you're on, right? Get the knowledge that they have, because they're the ones that are making decisions for you. Go read about Project 2025. Look at the mandate. It's a lot of pages. So what? Read a little bit at a time. Share it with your friends. Start screenshotting stuff. Share it. Look at it. Talk about it. Get the truth. Ask questions. That's how you get the truth to something. Repeating it, being a parrot is not doing that. They want you to not think about what you're saying. They want you to just jump on board and do whatever the hell they want you to do so they can continue to drive this country off the edge of a cliff with your help, with you clapping for them all the way around, right? So no more of it, you guys. All right. I'm seriously getting off here now. I shared all the resources with you guys. I think we've talked about enough today. You guys have an awesome rest of the day, and I'll talk to you guys next time.